Welcome in, Coach Speak. Another edition. We're kind of past midseason form at this point, guys. I'm ready for some action. I want somebody to really have a meltdown in the dais. We came close a couple times early this year, but nothing that's overwhelming that'll carry the day. By the way, that's Ira. That's Corey. I am Jeff. Ben is producing. We want to thank our friends at the outset here from Artezia Water. Check them out, arteziawater.com. More later. Ben, let's fire away. I believe you told me in our pre-production meetings that we all have.
Right.
We're going with Kirby Smart here to lead the way.
Yes. Speaking of meltdowns, he maybe just a little meltdown, a little shove of a Mississippi State player in that game that was a little closer than the experts predicted. So they asked him in his Tuesday press conference if he had the chance to review the film of his shove, and this was his response.
If you had a chance to go back and look at the incident in the Mississippi State game, the shoving, have you had a chance to call Coach Levy and perhaps even Van Buren himself?
Yeah, absolutely, I have, and I'm glad you brought that up because after you guys said that in the press conference, I went back and watched it, and didn't even realize that I had run into him. But I reached out to Levy that night and talked to him, and he said the kid was great. And then yesterday I talked to Mike and told him, I had no intentions or ill will towards him at all. It was, if you've ever been on the sideline in a game, it's pandemonium. It's really pandemonium when you're trying to change personnel and you only got 3 to 4 seconds to do it. And we were bad off in a bad personnel grouping against empty that we actually had messed up the week before. And so I was trying to get to Schumann to get that changed. But I reached out to the kid. He was great. He's a really good player. He's going to be a good player in this league, and he played better as the game went on against us.
Well, that's about as well as you could handle it, other than, probably not shove the kid. But, I mean, that's how you should handle that question.
Sure. And also, I was just as a quick aside, why couldn't have Jimbo been like him? They have such similar personalities, it seems like. But Kirby's obviously one of the best coaches, going to be one of the best coaches of all time, and Jimbo wasn't. But I get that it's pandemonium on the sideline. I get that it's chaos, but he's been on a football sideline his entire life. In that moment, he doesn't realize he's we've seen the footage, right? It's not just I nudged a guy. It's a two-hand shove.
Yeah.
And he does it. And I believe him. I don't think he knew what he was doing, which is even crazier. Well, he didn't even register what he was doing.
I disagrees with you.
I don't know that I do believe him, but I don't think it wasn't Woody Hayes. It's not like it was a crazy.
He wasn't choking.
No.
Yeah, but he shoved the guy, and I think he was like in the heat of the moment. Man, athletes do things, and I think Kirby was a football. Obviously Kirby was a football player, and in the heat of the moment, you do things you probably look in hindsight. I'm sure in hindsight, when he went back and watched the film, it looked worse than he thought it did. But I think it was kind of in the moment, man, get out of my way. I don't think it was anything malicious. He obviously wasn't trying to hurt him. But I think he lost his mind a little bit in the moment, which happens. But I don't believe he didn't know that was a player from the other team. He didn't black out. So I don't buy it, but I think he handled it about as well as he could. And I don't think it's that big of I don't think it's a huge
It's
problem.
just odd because he's been around. Number one, they were winning. I know his defense wasn't playing well, but they were winning, and they won the game rather handily. But he's been around players in front of him his entire life. That's part of his job, and it's this is the time that it was so odd. The whole thing was just so odd. And when it was brought up on Saturday, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like
that,
what?
And that's the part I don't think he didn't realize it was on film. And nowadays, man, everything's on film. There's 1,000 cameras at these games. Even if it's not on the TV broadcast, somebody's got it on their flip phone or something. So you just can't you can't do things like that. And he got caught. And I think later he had to, I didn't see him. Come on, man. How did you not see him? How in the world did you not see that you pushed a guy from the other team, which you can't do?
I think it's interesting that we have two different perspectives here that you two disagree on that. I'm not sure I know which one is right. I do think that coaches get maniacal. I've seen that on the sidelines and crazed. And I think they're on to the next so quickly that I'm not sure. I don't know if he knew it was a Mississippi State player or a Georgia player. I just know that he was racing over to try to change what personnel they were in because they were getting burned. It is odd. Either way, pushing a player and not remembering or
Right.
knowing is insane.
It's
You're
crazy.
not-
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's
We'll-
the point I kind of
we'll
wanted to
agree
make.
that
Is
it's crazy.
I'm not giving him a pass because either way, it's nuts.
Yeah,
but
either way, it's nuts.
If he
Yeah.
doesn't remember doing it, that's almost worse.
Well, I agree with Ira about that. There's no way he didn't remember doing it, but there might be a way that he didn't realize who he was pushing. He's just racing over, trying to get over to somebody. But either way, it's crazy. Get a grip, man. Ben, what do we got next?
Hey, so speaking,
I hope Sarkisian beats him by 100 just for that Mississippi State kid.
I like that he checked on him. He's okay.
Yeah,
It's like,
He's all right. He's great. Good.
We didn't think he took his knee out, Kirby.
Yeah.
Just didn't think it was cool to
I
shove
was
him.
going to say, Kirby's got players that hit a little bit harder than he does.
I was gonna say.
hey, speaking of big collisions, guys, Mike Gundy's press conference on Tuesday was held over Zoom, and I'm not going to tell you why. I'm going to let Coach explain that. And then we're also going to have a little deep dive into the struggles this season of Oklahoma State as well from Coach Gundy.
Yeah, Mike, you said no injury updates on the players. Are you doing okay? There's a reason we're on Zoom today, I guess.
Well, I had a little run-in with my cattle over the weekend, and I guess they've been watching us play and got headbutted. So I've got a bad eye that I didn't think would be particularly enjoyable for people when they were looking at my pretty face in a live interview. But more importantly, it's full of blood and I get dizzy and so it's not easy to be upright and be in a normal function. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Mike, I know nobody's more frustrated by losses than you, than your coaches, than your players. But obviously you've got fans that are highly invested, still coming and packing the stadium, NIL donors, all that sort of thing. What's your message to those folks that are, still with you? Still obviously OSU fans, as they're sort of dealing with the frustration of the season.
Well, there's three ways to answer that.
Oh, all right.
One would be the head football coach and the ambassador of Oklahoma State University, one of them. One would be as a person, and one would be as just the head coach of a team. So, there's a variety of ways that
He's concussed.
you could answer that question.
Well, you want to pick one of those three and answer it?
So you're going to get a generic answer as the head coach and the ambassador, an ambassador to university, very similar. Somebody asked me that question the other day, in that the truth is that anybody that pays and comes to support our team has a right to say or do anything they want. And I'm okay with that. That's one way. As a head coach, I would say that if you really want to help our team, and you're coming and being supportive of the team no matter what, you're also giving a vision to the recruits that are in the stands, that are there listening and watching. So, what's your ultimate goal? Or do you really love Oklahoma State? Do you really love Oklahoma State football? Do you want to help us? Be aware of the situation that's at hand with recruits that are there and watching. And then the third way is as a parent. It's like I tell my kids, every time something goes wrong in society, people who are weak want to complain and bitch. That's what they do. So I tell my kids, when something goes wrong, man up. Now, I don't have girls, but nowadays women man up.
Yep.
And be strong. Don't always complain and bitch, and try to find an easy way out. Same thing I share with the team. As we travel through life, there's going to be situations that don't always go your way. So are you just going to cry and complain and bitch and moan, or are you going to figure out a way to help and make it better? So there's really three ways to handle that. And then in my situation, based on who my audience is,
I don't want to hear
those
this
are the three
anymore.
ways that I handle that situation.
I do feel like we've got another product of those cattle the BS that we're having to wade through.
By the way, Ira,
in
so
that answer.
you don't. I'm going to assume.
Not for a second.
Do you
Not
buy
for a
his story
second.
with the cattle?
No,
Okay,
I mean,
good.
if it happened, it's because he was shit-faced. I mean, maybe.
And doing what? Like challenging his cows to fights?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's
I
out in
don't
the
know.
field drunk as a skunk, headbutting his cow.
He's a half a bottle through some wild turkey and stumbles into a cow. I don't know if that's the only way I could see that. What else? How else could you explain it?
No,
I mean, that's
I don't.
nuts.
That one, Ira, I don't believe. I agree with you. He did not headbutt a cow. It didn't happen. And the cow didn't headbutt him. His drunk ass fell down the steps.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to go to the press conference because they're losing.
It's cool that he lives in a state in a city where that's at least plausible.
A theory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like if
if I'm
Rick
a
Key
ranch-
at Georgia Tech, if he couldn't do a Zoom because he had a black eye, he couldn't be like, I was turkey hunting. No, man, you live in Atlanta. You weren't doing that. What happened? And Gundy, I would think Gundy seems so just cocksure in everything he does that if he fell down the stairs drunk, I think he almost would admit that.
I don't know. He's had some run-ins. Corey, he's had some issues that he's had to apologize before about drunkenness. So
okay. Well, then, I guess he would.
I don't think he wants to concede that he was, as Ira pointed out, shit-faced.
What are the odds that it involved cattle? Like 10%? There is a chance.
In the sense that he fell into a cow or something, maybe.
Yeah, or he challenged a cow. He tried to ride a cow.
No,
challenged a cow.
Yeah. He slapped a cow in the face. What are you looking at?
Yeah. Whatever it is, but back to his message to the fans, and this is something that comes up. This is something that any fan base of any team that's not very good or not winning all their games is dealing with right now. Is the coaches bring recruits to these games, and then the team stinks, the fans boo, and then the coaches and then the coach is like, "Hey, man, you're not helping with these recruits," and it's like, "Well, what do you want us to do? Your team stinks."
What are we
going to cheer for?
Yeah, you know what's not helping with recruits? These losses.
Yeah, these bad losses.
These losses that are happening every week, Coach, are not helping the recruiting at all. I know you think it's the booze. I think it's the losses.
Yeah.
If you could tackle the other team's running back, I think the whole vibe would be different.
Yeah.
Credit to the reporter, though. By the way, that was a really good comeback. Like,
you want to pick one of those?
Can you pick one and answer it? Any of the three?
Still haven't answered the question, buddy.
Yeah. Just say there's three ways to answer. It's like, all right, well, pick one and let's go. Let's travel down that path.
Yeah, let's travel through life together as we figure this out here.
And I also like that he said some of the message was fine. I don't care. There's not much you can say, and I think that's what his point was to start. But then he's like, and I tell my kids to man up. So is he telling the fans to man up and deal with it?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
I mean, you can bitch and whine if you want to, Corey, about all these losses.
Or you can man up and cheer.
Well, it's like, and then the other day, and I don't think we have I don't think Kenny Dillingham is in this one, but I was watching his press conference because they got their big win the other day against Utah. And Kenny said that during his press conference, he's like, "Look, and I know we've already hit our over on our win season over unders. So all of you passionate fans that already hit your bets, take that money and put it in our collective."
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know that that's how this works, man. Like, I don't know that that's, and Corey complains about this all the time. When did it become the fans' problem to pay the players? Like, they're already paying for, anyway, it's just so these coaches want the fans to not boo, cheer when the team stinks, and then also, if you hit a bet, pour that money into the collective.
Man up.
Man up, never boo, and give me all your money.
That's it.
That's good. Show that you love my team.
What kind of fan base are you? Are you the kind that shows up every Saturday, sells the joint out, never boos ever, and gives me all of your money? Well, then that's a good fan base.
That's a good fan base.
That's a good fan
base.
Plus,
with Gundy, he could be like, and I need more cattle.
Yeah.
I shot the cow that headbutted me, so I need a new one.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. By the way, it is becoming a trend. It's right to point out that it's becoming a trend where coaches are mad at fans and demanding more of them simultaneously. It's unbelievable. Ben, what do we got?
I actually did have Kenny Dillingham in the queue for this week.
All right.
So that quote that you mentioned, Ira, is actually set up with a famous Kenny Dillingham metaphor. So,
Let's
it's
go.
great. We haven't had any of those this year, but Arizona State coming off a big dub against Utah on Friday night. So this is Kenny discussing that and discussing what Ira alluded to earlier.
Trip down memory lane.
I think they're setting the standard high, and hopefully they're setting the standard for the young guys in our program, so this becomes the standard. And hopefully the standard continue to raises with just how hard we play. And we're still getting too many, penalties, passionate penalties. But like I told him, I'd much rather teach a dog who bites to put him back in the cage than try to teach a dog who barks how to bite. And if our guys get physical penalties,
it's a take on
and we get violent penalties, we're going to try to coach that and get that toned down. But a big reason we're winning football games is because we play hard, we play with passion, and I want guys who bite, not guys who bark. And we got to teach them how to bite a little less. But it's definitely easier to teach them that than how to bite.
Rather say whoa
with
than
that,
giddy up.
we were picked to win 4 games this year, so a lot of Sun Devil fans obviously picked the over in Vegas, right? For those of you guys who won, put that money back into the collective, right? Because you get to celebrate these wins. You get to have another cold one with your friends. You get to have great Saturday nights. That should be enough for you already. Take that money that you've won, put it back into these kids, put it back into that collective, right? And let's enjoy the rest of the year.
Yeah, he's not kidding.
He's not kidding.
It would have been okay. It's a good line, and I think the people in the room thought it was a good line because it was a good line if it had been a line.
If he was kidding.
He's legit. He's asking for more money.
By the way, the Arizona Caps are beautiful. Just as an aside, they've done good out there in Tempe. They've done good. That's a huge win for him, by the way. That Arizona State program is whatever. But to beat Utah, who's a man's program and has been since Whittingham has been there, that's a big win.
I can be a hater sometimes, and I like Kenny. I'm not hating on Kenny. I feel like they're a little fraudulent. Cam Rising, if he could have thrown the ball from here to my door,
yeah, sure.
I think Utah probably wins that game.
I agree.
They shouldn't have kept playing. Cam Rising was hurt. Cam Rising was hurt from the beginning of the game, should not have been out there, couldn't complete a pass, and for whatever reason, Whittingham just rode with him the whole game.
Crazy.
Cam Rising has been hurt since we were children.
Yes.
It has been our whole lifetimes hearing about Cam Rising is questionable.
If he picks up a football, he's going to get injured.
He's a fragile young man, unfortunately. Young man.
So the way I look at it with Dillingham, fraudulent or not, like he knows.
No, it's great. They've done a great job. I'm not trying to hate on him.
This is like the most juice he might ever have, or he certainly could have right now in October. And he picked and again, I hate where we are as a sport, but he picked the highlight of the season to ask the people that are really excited for what his team is doing for them and their Saturday nights to help him out now. Like they want to keep this, they want to maintain this. It's the nature of the sport. It sucks. So he did it in a funny way or tried to do it in a funny way, but he absolutely was serious. We need more money for our collective.
As an aside here, monitor that program amongst many because they are of the ilk, Colorado and many others that have gone after 40 to 50 transfer players. And I think we're in for the sort of seismic shift that we've seen in Tallahassee. I think we're in for an annual year to year. Let's watch and see which program falls off a cliff and which one goes from being awful to awesome. Because it's going to happen just like in the NFL every year now. Teams, they play a 17-game schedule. Teams go 6-11, and the next year they go 11-6 and make the playoffs. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Wasn't Oklahoma State good last year?
Yes.
It's supposed to be good this year?
Well, you're watching it happen. And by the way, Washington sucks. Florida State sucks. Michigan sucks. Mizzou was top 10 before the year. They're frauds. You're just going to see it. It's going to happen because you can't sustain depth. You can't keep anybody who's any good at all. They're all going to leave if they're not starting.
Well, so you see what Dillingham was doing.
But I'm
trying to put money in the program.
The time was right. I I think where these guys are flawed, and to some degree, all of these collectives, I get the idea of it. The idea that we've got, I don't know, 500,000 fans of my school, or 1 million fans, or 2 million fans of my school. And if they all give 10 or 15 bucks or 20 bucks or 50 bucks, that's a lot of money. Reality is, man, a small percentage are going to give, and their $100 is not going to do what you need. If you're trying to buy players, it's usually going to be, you've got to have 3 or 4 or 5 huge boosters
Mega donors.
that gives 7 figures. And then that's how the grassroots thing, I just don't think is going to work.
The other part of that is this is all going to change as soon as the House thing goes through. But it's fascinating to watch because coaches don't know what to do. So they turn, and it's rather it's unbecoming to watch a coach grovel for money after a big win and demand more of fans who are already paying for season tickets and travel to the games and do all the things annually that they've always done. It's not enough anymore. Now, you're welcome. I've provided you a winner. Give me more money.
Well, and then the flip side,
it's better to do it after a win than a loss.
I don't. Yeah, none of us blame him for what he did. The other problem, though, is as Jeff said, next season, if they're not very good,
and
then those fans are going to be like, because what's happening to Florida State right now?
Yeah, where'd my money go? Yeah,
I gave this money to the collective.
You spent it on him?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for bringing in DJU.
Fun times in college football.
Ben, what do we got?
All right, guys, let's check in on our friend Shane Beamer. We were all big Cox fans when they took on Alabama. Unfortunately, they fell just short. 2-point loss. I guess they can't keep playing. That's annoying. Shane Beamer discussing the lessons that he learned in that loss to Alabama.
It's a tough one.
Is that every week's different, and it's people can put lines as what they want, talk about us how they want to talk about us. It's amazing to me from Kentucky, the way we performed, the perception of our team was really, really high. And then we had a crappy performance last Saturday, and all of a sudden the narrative is we ain't worth a crap. And that's not the case. We had a bad game last week. We played bad. We performed bad. We coached bad against Ole Miss. It doesn't mean we were a bad team. So we expected to win this game. Nobody was like coming in here at halftime doing cartwheels because we were in a tight game with Alabama. We expected that because we have a good football team. Life in this conference is really, really hard. And there's really good teams you play week in, week out. So it says that we have a good team that competes their asses off, excuse my language, kids. And that's what we did today. And we came up a little bit short. It says we had a bad day last week that we regrouped from because we got a bunch of fighters in that room that love to compete and love to work. And I hurt for them. And that's what I told them in the locker room, Jack, is I've hurt for them because we're sick of this feeling. And they work too hard during the week to come in here on Saturdays and feel like that in that locker room across that wall right there as well.
Okay. I'd like coaches to stop this incessant I'm put upon bullshit that we see every effing Saturday. Why do they continue to address the perceptions of fans and outside media week to week? What do you fucking care?
It's just
go coach your team. Stop doing that.
That's Beamer. I didn't think it's weird, man. I can't tell with you sometimes. That's the most innocuous Shane Beamer clip we've ever shown on this show.
Correct.
And then it sent you off into a rage that makes no sense.
I think what got him though, it's the my job is so hard.
Yes.
Man,
Stop
it is.
Doing
that's why you get paid so much money. I mean,
that's what the money's for.
Yeah.
Right.
Stop complaining about the perception.
It's how he started. It's how he started it with everybody thought we were good against Kentucky, and then we had a bad week.
Right, Corey, why would you do it? Why he does it every week is what pisses me off. Every week it's sort of, well, you guys think we stink because we lost today, but I can tell you I got fighters in that room, and you're on the outside. And then the next week it's like, well, we played really well, and everybody thought we were bad. But stop doing that. Just talk about.
He's definitely wrapped up in what the acknowledgments when they're good, and you see it, man. Like when they're good, he's washing himself in the praise, and then so when they get criticized for laying an egg, he takes that so personally. Man, just man up. Listen to Mike Gundy, Shane.
Yeah, exactly
listen to Mike Gundy. Man up.
Yeah, exactly right. And also, that would have been a perfect time to be like, hey, guys, we came really close to beating Alabama. Anybody watching this, if you want to beat Alabama, give me some money.
Give me some
Get
more
some money rolling in.
Exactly.
I mean, good grief now. We're about to hit the over in a couple weeks. Give us your winnings so we can get a better roster.
I just want coaches to not constantly project this put upon feeling like life is so difficult for me. I make $9 million a year to coach this football team, and we came up just short, and you guys don't think we're good. Ooh-hoo.
I think it's he knows that there's a chance. This is probably the best team he's had there. It is the best team he's had there. They still might go 6-6. And he still might lose his job.
It's right about something. Life in the SEC or any big conference like that, the Big Ten, is hard. You're going to lose some games. And as we move forward to what we eventually end up in this league of 70 or 60 or 50, and they all play each other, it will be, again, just like the NFL. You could go 9-3, 8-4 very easily.
Who's other than Mike Tomlin, who's like the longest tenured coach in the NFL? Like they all last 5 years and bounce.
You're hired to be fired.
Yeah,
man.
they get fired very quickly there, and that's how life is in the SEC.
I think it's really weak when you reveal to the. It's like responding to trolls on Twitter repeatedly. Like don't do it.
The BYU game, the BYU guy a couple weeks ago, when you're one of the stories of college football. You're having a great season. You go through an entire press conference ready to do battle about this one topic that never comes up. And then you end the press conference by bringing it up yourself to fight a battle that's not even there. I mean, it's just I don't know, man. Why Jeff got mad, I think it took me back to when Jimbo, after beating a bad team, would be like, hey, the day we stop appreciating wins around here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's I get it. I understand, man. Winning football games is hard. Obviously, we cover a team that does not do it very often. It's clearly hard to do. But when you're at a program that you're winning national titles at Florida State University and you're narrowly beating inferior teams, you can't be like, hey, man, you should appreciate this.
You can't gloat. You can't project that woe is me nonsense. Also, you're right, Ira. And so, Corey, the whole thing was less about Shane and more about it was a crescendo effect of like, really, every week with these guys, we got to address whatever perceived slight happened 3 weeks ago.
We're in the middle of October. It's going to keep getting worse as they get closer and closer to being fired.
And that's good for coach speak. Yeah. But I just what I don't understand is how you don't have a PR or somebody around you to be like, hey, man, let's leave the fights on the internet alone out here when we take this press conference on. Let's go in there and talk a little bit about what went right, what went wrong. Try to answer the questions directly. Don't like read
because nothing good is going to come of it. No. What he just said is not going to stop the people on the internet from going after him. So
no, and they could have won the game by 2 points, and there would have been somebody who was livid with a play call in the second quarter. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that.
I can't even imagine what he'd have been like if they'd have won. That's you want to talk about insufferable. If they had won that game, he would have been out of control.
We call great plays. Remember, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's true.
We call great plays. Ben, what do we got?
Hey, maybe Coach Beamer watches the show. Welcome into Coach Speak. Shane.
Hey, Shane.
Appreciate that. Let's go up to the wild and wonderful state of West Virginia. We've got Neal Brown and Charles Huff. We're going to start with Neal Brown. They are 3-3 on the season, coming off a 28-16 loss to Iowa State. But hey, guys, there's more to college football than just winning games. It's about the experience.
Here we go.
It's about the experience, guys.
Here we go.
Do you have any message to the fans? It's going to be during the night game.
It's a popular question.
Yeah, pause real quick, Ben.
Just missed opportunities.
Yeah, we're definitely at you talked about what point of the season you're at. We're at the what's your message to the fans point of the season.
Yeah,
for teams that
it's
are not
across the board. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll be asking that to Norvell Friday night, and then after the Miami game, and then after the North Carolina game.
So if they lose on Friday, coming off a bye, and for the program's first time in history to do, Corey, lead with that, please.
Yeah, I will. What's your message to fans that just
what's your message to the fans who just
drunk in the bushes, headbutting cattle?
Yeah, shattered by a streak. Yet another streak ended. Yeah. All right,
Neal.
With the games, kind of the vibe of the fans right now.
Yeah. You would know the vibe more than I would just because I'm not on social media.
There you go.
Good.
I get that they want to win, but what I would say is, did they have a good time? You know what I mean? Like, did they enjoy it? It was pretty good atmosphere.
How was the food?
I'm assuming they probably had a pretty good time tailgating.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're in the deal for enjoyment, then I would come back because I looked at the weather. It's going to be nice again. It's a
Oh,
night
okay.
game. And we need them to provide a home field advantage. We need them. I get they're frustrated that we didn't win. You know, we've played a tough schedule. You know, everybody that's beat us hasn't lost. All right. But that's no excuse. That's just the truth. And the games in our league are going to come down to the fourth quarter. And I don't think this one on Saturday is going to be any different. So we need them to help us. I do get their frustration. But I don't think it's, when you watch our product, I don't think the product is something that they should be, other than the outcome. Like, our kids play hard. That was a really physical football game on Saturday. There's a lot of West Virginia kids out there spilling it out. And so there was clear strength, clear physicality. It was an entertaining football game. If you're a football fan, you're just watching that, it's pretty entertaining. We just didn't play well enough to win. And so I hope with that in mind, they would come back for another entertaining game that hopefully we can play better at the end and win.
He's right, by the way. They've only lost to teams that are undefeated: Pitt, Iowa State, and Penn State.
That's crazy.
So, in fairness to him,
and also his initial answer, I'm like, "What in the world, man, Neal? Good grief! You can't tell people did you enjoy it? It's a good experience." But the more he talked, I'm like, "Yeah, man. All right, I'm with it. You're right. They're all West Virginia kids. We live in West Virginia. What else are we going to do?" That's no offense to West Virginia, but they love that football. They love that football team, and there's no other professional teams in the state.
He should have said that. What else are you guys going to do?
What else you
Learn Morgantown.
You're stuck in West Virginia, kids.
Yeah,
you get to burn couches,
country roads. You get to sing with 50,000, 60,000 of your friends. But it's like, I think like a place like West Virginia, that's kind of a good selling point. It's like, look, isn't this fun? We're never going to win a national championship. We understand that. What do you guys want? You haven't been relevant in 40 years. But isn't this fun? Isn't this a fun way to spend your Saturday? And we play hard for you. What else do you want?
I like that, A, he didn't sound angered or put upon.
Yeah.
B, again, nice of him. It's also smart of him to not be on social media as a coach. And then, again, pretty smooth to point out we've only lost to undefeated teams.
I think
all
that
we're out here losing to a bunch of slapdicks. We're losing to good teams.
I'm with you guys on all of that. The only problem I have is when you say, other than the outcome.
Yeah, well,
because what he should have done was all the things you guys liked, and I liked all those things too, but it should have ended with, and you know what, guys? We're going somewhere. And we're going to be winning these games, and we're going to be the
fan
team
later.
Yeah.
Well, not meanly, but like, we're going to all enjoy this journey together, and stick with us. It's not like it's a bad product. We are playing hard. It's not. I understand. If we were out here losing and the kids weren't trying, I would understand it even more. But they are playing hard, and we are going somewhere, and we're going to win these games, and we're all going to be happy to be part of this journey.
It turns out, by the way,
just focusing on the weather and that it's fun. I don't know, man. Like, the outcome does matter, at least knowing that you're going somewhere. That's why we're here. That's why you get paid. That's why the kids get scholarships. It's not just for entertainment.
Yeah, and they lost. That's an Iowa State team that's ranked number 9 in the country and undefeated. And by the way, it should be noted the week before they stomped Oklahoma State 38-14. So, Gundy's got bigger problems.
That was bad for Gundy. That was a bad night for Gundy's cattle farm. Stopped by West Virginia.
What do we got, Ben?
All right, let's go down the road to Huntington, West Virginia now. The Marshall Thundering Herd. They had a 20-point lead against Georgia Southern, and they blew it. So Charles Huff was asked how his team responds to that loss.
Is this responding to a loss like this? Is that an opportunity to find some definition for your team?
Yeah, we have no choice. We had a game in less than 72 hours, so we got to load up, get back, get a good game plan together, and get ready to play a game Thursday night. No one cares. No one cares that we lost tonight by 1 point. No one cares that we played hard. We've got to go win. And
that's correct.
Didn't tonight.
Good job.
Not that the effort wasn't there.
His math was way off.
His math is off. The part about nobody cares is correct.
We didn't win the game. So that's all that matters. No one cares that we got a game in 72 hours. No one cares that we're going to get back tonight at 5 a.m. We got to load up. We talked about it at the beginning of the week. We had a really tough stretch. Number one goal was to win the game. We did not do that, but we did learn. We got to go back. Everybody's got to go to class, got to take care of their bodies, and get ready for Thursday night.
unless they were playing on
Tuesday
Monday.
or
Yeah,
Tuesday.
it's not 72 hours. It was
Yeah.
96
He's off on the
to
map.
100.
Everything else was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like him. I would like him if I was a Marshall fan to win more games and not blow 20-point leads in the fourth quarter. But I do like him. Like he's.
By the way, Ira, I said that the other day to my dad. You know, I like Mike. I'd like him more if he'd start winning some football games.
Yeah, if
but
he
I
wasn't
like
1-5. And also, like with that particular answer, he legitimately answered the question. It wasn't like he deflected to,
No.
now poor old us, we got to
Right.
get ready to go at 72. He was asked how you respond from something like this, and
We have no
other than
choice.
his not understanding days of the week and how many hours are in a day, apparently, other than that, he answered that really well.
Yeah, we like him. We also like Artesia Water, Jeff, right?
Well done, Ira. Well
Okay.
done, sir.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
That's right.
It
We do
wasn't
like
it wasn't as seamless as we've done in the
No.
past. It was close. It was close.
Yeah. A little
It was a
clunky,
friendly
but,
reminder at the halfway point. ArtesiaWater.com is where you go to learn more. We've got Artesia Water here in the house. I used it again this morning for my several cups of coffee. Corey likes to lift the Artesia Water jugs above his head.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again. Threw out my shoulder, tore the old rotator cuff.
Runs around the neighborhood in Atlanta and holds up the Artesia Water, and it's a glorious sight. But so is Artesia Water when it's in your glass. How do people learn more about Artesia Water, Ira?
Yeah, the website is artesiawater.com, ARTEZIA water.com. And I was just talking to Trevor last night, and he was making sure your guys' coolers are good. You guys have a full supply.
Yeah.
Again, customer service is something that's huge with them. There are other water companies out there, but this comes locally sourced from the Panhandle of Florida.
Artesia.
It is delicious from the Panhandle of Florida, from artesian wells. And it also, they have, it's family owned, so great customer service. You're not sitting on a 1-800 number for all day. You're going to talk to real people, and they're going to service your call. And he said they've gotten good response so far from Florida State fans who've mentioned that they heard about him on Coach Speak or on Warchant. So keep doing that. When you call Artesia Water or reach out, they're going to give you a month free for mentioning Coach Speak and of the service, and mention us, and that lets them know that the advertising is working. So we really appreciate it, and certainly appreciate Artesia Water.
Yep, perfect. Excellent. Good job, Ira. We could move on from there. Ben, what do we got?
We got two more. One is a coach and one is not. So I'm going to save the one that is not for the very end because it's interesting and I want to get your all's thoughts. But first, we're going to go back to the ACC and Justin Wilcox. Another tough 2-point loss for our coaches here. They fell to Pitt. Let's get coach's thoughts.
You said going into the last couple of games that limiting the mistakes and miscues is a big part of the game plan, and there were a lot tonight. What was going on?
Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, penalties were a major issue. 4 15-yarders. We had a unsportsmanlike right before half. Cost us big. We took a sack, which was bad, and then we got an unsportsmanlike penalty. Terrible. We had 2 PIs on one drive, 30 yards of field position. We had a face mask on defense. Those are the 15-yard varieties. Receivers had a legal substitution, really bad. Had a false start. We had a false start by a young man on a play that was not called. Took a delay. Had 3 holding penalties. So
wow,
it's bad.
Is that a fixable problem?
Well, sure. You got to focus, and takes physical toughness, mental toughness, emotional toughness. Of course it is.
Coach from Wright, California. The last 4 years, the team has been 5-20 in one-score games. What has to change for that to improve going onward?
That's a very good question. It's a great question. Well,
he appreciates it.
We could be here for a while, and we can go through this game. And how do you win a one-score game today? Cut the penalties in half. Start there, or just take care of the ones that take no talent. Sometimes in a play, there might be a holding call. Maybe it's a tough matchup. You don't want that, but it can happen. A guy reaching to make a tackle, you don't want a face mask. You want to get your hands low, but that happens in the heat of battle sometimes. The PIs were probably unnecessary. So let's say you have those. Well, lining up right, not jumping off sides, not getting a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. Well, those take no talent at all. So let's start with those. Let's go to 4th and 1. Everybody's doing their job, 10 out of 11 guys, and one guy makes a kind of a selfish decision and gets out of his gap. I mean, I think we have a great chance to stop him, and we're going to get the ball in their territory, and the guy gets out of his gap, and it goes for 72 yards for a touchdown. So you could argue that those two plays right there, right before the half, that play, there's 10 points. And then there's, I don't know, 10 other plays on offense that we can make that we didn't make.
Is he looking at? Did he write a list of all the things they effed up before he went in that press conference?
He must have. He's looking down like he wrote notes.
Well, I think he's also looking at the game log, the play-by-play, and he's seeing all the penalties there.
But he was rallying, tallying off every penalty. Like then we had this, and then he'd look down at the paper, and then we had this.
We had a false start that wasn't called.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, we had a false start on a play that wasn't even called. Is awesome.
It's weird. I like the media there because they're covering Cal like a normal college football program, I guess, which it isn't. What Cal hasn't. They're Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch, and they've been in the wilderness for 20 years.
Except they're in all these games. Except they're in all of these games.
No, that's what I'm saying.
State,
so,
they could have beat Miami.
No, they could be 6-0, and their losses are a 5-point loss on the road to Florida State, a crazy. Comeback win by Miami
where they got
in the
cheated.
last 20 seconds. Yeah, and then this one they lost by 2 at Pitt. And it's like I almost wanted to be like to these questions, like, guys, this is Cal football.
Yeah,
it's always sucked. I'm doing the best I can. We have a real product. We're a good team.
I'm working miracles here.
Yeah, I'm working miracles with all these guys that don't know how to not grab face masks.
But Corey, you'd be giving the student body and the press a history lesson by doing that, and nobody's going to take to that.
No.
Well, the one reporter did. He's like, "Hey, your record in 1-score games is like 2-100, right? Like, what's going on there?"
But I'm saying, he's asking them what they have to do to get better right here, right now. He doesn't care that they haven't done anything in 40 years.
Well, and that was a good answer by Wilcox to say, let's worry about this 1-score game that just happened, not the ones that have happened in the past. But
he's an interesting guy, man. Like, I'm curious to see. He's just different from any coach I've ever seen. The way he talks, like the way because he looks like he wants to go out there and just start running through people. Like he looks like he wants to go out there today and show these dudes what it should look like. There's a toughness about him that's awesome. And he believes that they should be 6-0. Like, you can tell he doesn't think they're Cal. He thinks there's no reason they shouldn't be winning these games. It's cool. I'm curious to see how that all plays out. He's either going to burn out quickly or he's going to be super successful.
Well, his team definitely plays hard and they play physical. They're a pretty fun team to watch in that regard, which you wouldn't have thought coming from Cal football.
By the way, he was a defensive back at Oregon and a starter for 3 years there in the 90s, the late 90s.
Okay.
I'm going to say he was a heady player, tough, kind of a gym rat, gritty.
Yeah.
Well, and he's been a DC for Washington. He's been a DC for Southern Cal. He was a DC for Tennessee before becoming a head coach. So my man's had some jobs. He's done some good things. Last one, and I know which one it is, Ben. It's Jera.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this one. This is Jerry Jones on the. I think this is 105.3 The Fan. So he does like a weekly interview.
Hey man, this isn't billionaire speak. It's coach speak. What are we doing with Jerry Jones?
He might as well be the coach.
He
Corey.
thinks he's a
just
coach.
Just wait, guys.
He's coach, GM, and owner.
Let me tell you what I'll do. Let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, to talk about this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask
y'all get
why.
a job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
Jerry,
okay. Y'all really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong and without going over the rights?
Well,
now, listen, we both know we're talking to a lot of great fans and a lot of great listeners. And I am very sorry for what happened out there Sunday. I'm sick about what happened Sunday. Now, I'm not talking to these yahoos on the end of this phone. I'm talking to you, the fans that are listening this morning. And we can spend a lot of time going over zigging and zagging. One of the stupidest things I've ever done that anybody has ever analyzed is by the Cowboys. It was an idiot that did that. So idiot things can turn into good decisions. Okay? Smart things can turn into bad decisions. The facts are that when you make one, you don't really know whether it's going to be good or not at the time.
Oh boy!
So let's just go ahead. I'm trying to answer your questions, man. You want some conversation this morning? You're getting it.
Jerry Jones here.
I would love to know what prompted that. Like,
So-
were they really giving him shit? Like,
Yeah, so they asked him about the offseason moves in addition to comments he made in regards to those moves or the lack thereof. Obviously, the season's going terribly for the Cowboys. They lose every home game by 100.
Yes, they do.
And Ben
he's a Lions fan.
Ben's
Yeah.
savoring this a little bit because his Lions just beat the crap out of them.
Well, they
the
didn't
other
just
day.
beat the crap out of them. They treated them like children. They were running
Embarrassing,
passes for their offensive linemen. I mean, it's sweet Jesus. It's embarrassing. But, like, I get it. Jerry, he does that interview every week, Corey, every week with the same crew.
Yeah.
And that's a station in Dallas that is a blowtorch. And so, like, my thought is this. When he threatened their jobs, which is a dick move, and it's also just a clown thing to do, he's serious, though, because they have, he can just tell the program station manager, look, man, I'll pull the Cowboy games from the station.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's lucrative for you guys to run Cowboys games in Dallas.
No, I mean, listen, man, I think people think that the reason Van Gundy's not doing NBA games anymore is because the NBA got tired of him saying things about the NBA. And so, yeah, there's no doubt. In fact, the way Jerry Jones was talking at one point, those guys might want to hire security. Like,
yeah. They're going to wake up with a cow head in their bed.
But what's funny is I think he thinks they work for him also, I think, and they don't, but it's just but yeah, man, I think we may be at the end of the road here for Jerry.
Well, yeah, he's
I feel
82. It's time's up.
I like that his pronunciation of words, too. He said douchewater instead of dishwater. He said douchewater. And he also said
he was trying to say dishwater. If you were writing that quote, you'd have to say dishwater, of course.
Right, but I know what I heard. It was douchewater, which is a great nickname for that guy. That's what he calls him. Oh, listen here, douchewater in the bong, or whatever this radio show is. And he also said Yahoo instead of Yahoo. He said, any of you Yahoos over there, and he meant to say Yahoo.
Well, what we're not going to do is sit here and ask me about it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. It's it's funny, man. Like it not reminded me to the degree, but when you would have Jimbo on back in the day, Jimbo's getting something out of it too. Like he started doing that interview every week because he was the offensive coordinator. It's a chance for him to kind of put himself out there. It was good for him to position himself for the head coaching job whenever Bowden retired.
Yeah, what is Jerry Jones doing that for?
But I guess, like Jeff said,
Jerry Jones loves Jerry Jones, Corey.
Well, that's true.
It's a huge. It's like he said, it's a blowtorch. It's got a huge signal. So you're reaching, and that's why he at one point he's like, "Look, I'm done talking to you guys. I'm talking to the fans. That's the only reason I'm on here right now." And because listen, man, Jerry Jones, everything about when we were out there recently, everything in that stadium is for sale. Like it is a money making venture. So the fact that the team stinks. And I think that was his point. You know, I might have been an idiot when people thought I was an idiot when I bought him. You know how much money he's made off of that name and that brand?
It's crazy.
So I don't know if he really cares all that much sometimes.
No, but what's funny with all these guys, and this is anybody in a position of power, it's true of politicians and coaches and anybody in a extreme position of power. They never want it both ways. They want all the lauding and praise and money-making marketing opportunities that they can have that comes with that interview that they wanted to have. But when things go wrong and you get asked a pertinent question about why the team can't win at home or they're steady getting blown out on national television, he's offended.
Yeah.
Man, that's not how it works, buddy. I mean, you're going to get asked. It's not your job to ask me this. Yes, it is. It is my job to ask you this. I'm an extension of the fans. It is my job to ask you why we lose 41-9 and 38-7. And like, yeah,
that's why I said what I said when it started was like, I couldn't understand what prompted that. Not because I think Jerry Jones has necessarily the thickest skin in the world, but he's been doing this for 35 years. They haven't won a title in 29 years.
Something, yeah.
And they've been a disappointment for 29 years. So he's used to criticism, and he's used to that fan base and the talk show host giving his team grief. So I was just wondering, maybe it's just
well, I think he's also used to pointing to the players and pointing to the coaches. And now they were asking about the moves he made.
I got you.
Specifically about the moves he did or did not make in the offseason. They actually quoted him to him.
Oh, well, yeah, that's kind of provocative.
Well,
but
I mean,
a little bit of
he gets him going.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about that is like, I'm not giving you my opinion when I quote you to you. That's
but you're also bringing him on to basically say, how do you respond to what an idiot you were 6 months ago?
No. Again, that's
look. Let's be honest, guys. It was a douchewater move from start to finish. That's the definition of douchewater.
ArtesiaWater.com. Go there, get your water needs fulfilled.
That's the opposite of that.
That is the opposite. And thanks, Ben, as always. Thanks to Ira and Corey. I'm Jeff, and thanks to all of you guys. This was a sterling edition of Coach Speak, and I have not forgotten.
We got to name a winner.
Who's our winner? Who's the guy this week?
It's a tough one. I don't know if we had a lot of.
I like the Cal coach, Wilcox. I just like the way he answered the question.
I'm trying to think. Who was the first one? Oh no, I'm going with Gundy.
No,
come on.
No, the first part of it, just the cowboy,
the creativity,
hit by a cow.
Just the creativity part.
Yeah, the creativity of saying you got hit by a cow.
I'm with Jeff. We're going with Wilcox.
I could also go. Yeah, I was just gonna say I could also go with that whiny bitch at South Carolina.
No, you wouldn't. Why would you? That doesn't honor Jay Miranda's name.
Yeah, there's a good chance we'll get Aranda back this week. Because I think they've got another L coming on. I think they might have had a bye week last week. So,
okay, all right.
We might get our farewell to Dave Aranda. But again, go to artesiawater.com. Yeah. They'll bring the water to your house or to your office, and you will not regret it.
And I must say that my favorite part of Iris, assuming that Baylor's got another loss coming, is that they play a game.
They play a game.
Yes.
Probably coming.
All right, for Ira and Corey and Ben, I'm Jeff. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time on Coach Speak. Peace.